So I am a divorced mom. I have 4 boys. I'm in my late 30s. And recently I learned about hormones, and all the ups and downs that you can have with hormones, how they affect your body, what we can do to fix it. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I went to the doctor and I feel like I got nowhere. I was more frustrated. I was more irritable. And they just kind of threw pills at me and sent me on my way. So today I'm going to break down exactly what I was feeling, what I did about it, what I learned on this journey to like learning about my hormones. So much that I learned about hormones that I'm going to share with you today. And then some of the things that I implemented to really help me feel back on track and start to feel like myself again. So if you are ready to learn all things hormones and how to get your hormones back in balance and how to even know if they're out of balance, stick around. Okay, so I am excited to actually talk about this today because I've become absolutely obsessed. So if you followed along and you've seen me get sober on social media, that's exactly how I've been in this process of figuring out my hormones. I became obsessed with sobriety. I became obsessed with trying to figure out why I drank, what was going on, how to overcome the triggers, and got to a really, really healthy place in my sobriety. And then comes late 30s. And going into my late 30s, I was starting to experience these new symptoms, which I think I was having before. I think I was having some hormonal imbalances before, but they just started to get worse in my late 30s. So I was extremely tired, just needing an afternoon nap. I was exhausted still at bedtime. I was bloated. I was irritable. The brain fog was probably the most frustrating thing. And frustration equals more cortisol, which equals more issues. And I was gaining weight. I was over 170 pounds, which weight, the actual number on the scale is less important than the way that I felt. And I just didn't feel in balance. I didn't feel like me again. I didn't feel like hyperactive Gentry. I didn't feel like just the go go go. I was like, I'm exhausted, I'm bloated, I'm pissed off, and I can't think. I can't think straight. And I go to the doctor. And the very frustrating, probably the most frustrating thing was going to the doctor. And I don't know if other women have experiences. Please reach out to me if you have, or share with me if this is something that you've experienced. But I went to the doctor and they're like, all right, let's do blood work. Let's do labs. Let's see what's happening. And they're like, oh, everything's in normal range. What I've learned, the number one thing that I have learned on this journey, and this is tip number one, is educate yourself. Educate yourself. Because learning how to deal with my hormones took so much of self-education. And ChatGPT, shout out to ChatGPT, because I would put things into ChatGPT, and just be like, these are my symptoms, this is what's going on, what could be going on, why am I struggling? And that education was really, really helpful, because the doctor's office was like, all of your numbers are in a normal range, which was true. But once I started to learn about my cycle, so women have hormones that go all over the place throughout the 28 days of the month, which we know this, right? But I think that there's just been so much more research and so much more education for us out there to really help us understand how this works. And I'm going to break it down for you really quickly right here. So estrogen can be on a normal range for your labs anywhere from like 10 to 400. But through the month, that is not necessarily true. There's certain times of the month that estrogen should be higher, and there's certain times of the month that estrogen should be lower. Progesterone, that is another one that could have a very large range. So when they run your labs, it's not always particularly on like what time of the month is it and where should it be for this time of the month. It's like, is it in the normal range that it possibly could be at any time during the month? Yes. Okay, cool. She's fine. And that's not necessarily true. Progesterone should be elevating after ovulation. So after ovulation, your progesterone goes up. It's what confirms that you've ovulated, and your estrogen then should come down. Estrogen, progesterone have to be in a balance. So estrogen and progesterone should be in a proportionate, in a ratio that is in a healthy. So what something that I was struggling with is called estrogen dominance. So what had happened is that my body would go to ovulate, and estrogen is what tells your body to ovulate. Estrogen ramps up, and forces the egg to be like, all right, it's time to ovulate. And then LH will spike, and LH will actually rupture the egg, um, and it will come down into the uterus. And then once the LH spikes, ruptures that egg, estrogen's supposed to go back down. So what I've learned over tracking these things is that I was having anovulate and on and I was not ovulating sometimes. So what would happen is my estrogen would jump. It would try to get the egg to release. LH would spike, but an egg wouldn't actually release. So estrogen would spike higher. So as estrogen spiking higher to be like, all right, we got to push a little bit more to try and get this egg to release. It was too late. The egg was already gone. Estrogen stayed high. Progesterone stayed low. Now I had this really abnormal range. And so, yes, estrogen was at a normal range compared to my labs, but it wasn't at a normal range for where it should be on the second half of my cycle. So it was causing irritability, bloating, tiredness, just all these things. So estrogen dominance is what I learned. And I learned that by understanding my cycle, and then also using the Anito hormone testing device and app, which I'll link here for you guys. Many women are using the Anito for pregnancy. So this is a way to track your LH. So LH is something that's going to spike right before ovulation, so that you know that you're ovulating, so that you can try and get pregnant. If you're trying to prevent pregnancy and not on a birth control, this is a way for you to kind of track when you're about to ovulate, so you can make sure you avoid intercourse during that time, and then know when the LH goes down, that you are clear to enjoy your sexual activity again. But learning this was really, really helpful, because then I was like, okay, so I need to figure out how to detox my body from estrogen. Estrogen is the culprit. That's what's like, I'm having really high levels of estrogen. It's dominating the progesterone. So progesterone can't come up to a normal range. It's only going to like the 5 or 6, and then estrogen's at like 600. It's causing these symptoms. When I went to the doctor again and tried to explain this to them, like, this is what's happening. I know that my estrogen is high. I'm tired. I'm bloated. I'm irritable. Their suggestion was to put me on birth control. Their suggestion also was to put me on an antidepressant, and use the synthetic hormones to regulate my hormones, and use the antidepressant to help with my mood. I was very frustrated by this advice, and I went on them. I did go on them. At first I was like, okay, yes, let's do it. But then I'm like, that I feel like is just treating the symptoms that are happening. What if I could figure out how to actually naturally like help my body with these changes, with these obstacles? What if I could figure out a way to detox estrogen? So I'm back to ChatGPT, right? I'm like, ChatGPT, what's going on? How do I fix this? How do I reduce estrogen? This is when food really became my main focus, because there are things that we can do. So our gut, our liver, our body will have excess estrogen. So things that are going to cause me to have excess estrogen, like eating a lot of sugar, processed foods, cortisol, all those things were causing my estrogen to skyrocket. So even though I could take an antidepressant to help with my mood and kind of bypass the things that I was feeling, and I could take synthetic hormones to regulate, to kind of like force those hormones to regulate, the problem was still there. It wasn't actually fixing the problem. It was just overriding it. So I wasn't eating healthy. I wasn't reducing my sugar. I wasn't doing the things that are actually going to fix the problem. I was just covering it up, treating the symptom by forcing my hormones to regulate with synthetic hormones. So I went back off of birth control, and I started focusing on what I could be eating that are going to help with these things. So I learned protein, which I don't know if you have been on social media lately, if you've heard everybody talking about the importance of protein in your diet, like they're putting protein in everything now. But protein was something that was really, really helpful, and like real protein. So I really stepped away from doing protein powders. I will still drink them. I use protein, Premier Protein as my coffee creamer in the morning. But I before would use like a scoop of protein and then drink that. And now I'm trying to use a lot more like actual proteins, like actual food that I'm putting in my body because of there's just more benefits to it. So, things that I was eating are eggs, egg whites, turkey sausage, lean proteins are really, really important. Also things like, flax seeds help detox, chia seeds, healthy fats like, avocado, fish oil, the spinach casserole. So I did like a spinach, I started to get add to everything. Just really, really clean eating. And really, if you look at just a normal diet, like if you're looking like I'm trying to get healthy, a lot of these things are just going to be in a normal diet anyways. But being able to like physically search, like I would put in ChatGPT, I need to eat things that are going to help detox my liver and gut and body from excess estrogen. It spit out the recipes that I'm going to share with you today. So I actually have a links, so that you can go, and there's 3 recipes that I make. I did like an egg white and chicken, sausage spinach casserole. I make this as an egg scramble when I have time because I think the scramble tastes better. But if you don't have time, you can make it as a casserole. Ground turkey, black bean, and a veggie bowl. That's one that I use consistently that I will eat for lunch or dinner, and I just prep it at the beginning of the week. Greek yogurt or cottage cheese, depending on what I have, and then berries, chia seed, and flaxseed. That's another one that I will use consistently. I really focused on staying away from processed food. I stay away from soy. I stay away from um, sugar. I really, really detox my sugar. So the things that I'm eating aren't abnormal to any healthy diet, but these are things that I found to specifically help when your hormones are out of whack. How do you know if your hormones are out of whack? I would strongly recommend getting the Anito app, and not because I get any discount for it or anything. I just really think that it was really helpful for me to understand where my hormones were at, because I could see that the huge gap between my estrogen and progesterone. So even though my estrogen was in a normal range, it wasn't in a normal range for that time of the month, and it wasn't in a proportionate, like um, a good ratio with my progesterone, which was causing that tired, that bloating, that irritability. So our hormones are changing constantly, and especially as we age, some people have experienced the opposite, where their estrogen starts to tank and their progesterone goes out of control. But whatever it is, there's ways to, like, once you know, then you can start doing something about it. So education, like I said, number 1 is education. Educate yourself. How does your cycle work? What's going on with your cycle? Which one of these hormones, estrogen, progesterone, are out of control? Are they normal? Maybe there's something else going on. But until you know, until you take the time to educate yourself on how a cycle works, on how your cycle's working, it's really hard for you to know what to do. And like I said, you go to the doctor, you ask for labs, you ask for testing, and they're going to give you that huge freaking range that it could be in, where it's still considered normal, even though you know you're feeling off, you know you're feeling these symptoms, and it might not be normal for where you're at in your cycle, and it might not be normal for where it is compared to other hormones that are in your body. Another thing that I started to do is really drink a lot more water, even adding lemon to my water. So lemon is a great way to help detox your gut, detox your liver. And so being able to have a like good hydration was really, really good. And it's good for your skin too. There's so many benefits of water. I actually did some research on drinking water too, that because I have anxiety, because I have depression, something that I learned is that not drinking enough water can actually increase your anxiety, because when your body is fighting to kind of like keep your organs hydrated, it can make your heart race. So your heart's not getting enough water, it's having to work harder. And that can give you that like racing heart feeling, which can increase your anxiety. So you can feel that raciness, and then you can feel the cortisol. So drinking enough water, flushing out your body, detoxing, helps detox out excess estrogen. So drinking enough water is number 3. Adding lemon to it, even just a squeeze of the 100% lemon juice, golden, right? Like I'm being like, oh, lemons are so expensive. Get a thing of lemon juice, squeeze in there a thing of lemon, or squeeze in some lemon juice for your first water of the day, and I promise you, it helps with detoxing your body and your liver and your organs. Water is number 3. So drinking that water was really, really important. Number 4. So this is something that I am not as consistent at, and I would like to be more consistent at, but sauna blanket. So literally sweating it out. And just the relaxation that can come with using a sauna blanket. It helps reduce cortisol. It's really good for like that nervous system. So it can boost the circulation, which helps detox. Also, that just quiet time to unwind, which can help reduce cortisol. It really helped my head and stress. The problem is just being consistent with it. When your body is in your cycle, like when you're actually having your menstrual cycle, it's important to not overstress your body. So not going too high of heat during that time, but the first half of your cycle, or for too long, the first half of your cycle, using the sauna blanket, and then right past ovulation can be a really, really good way to help detox your body, help relax your nervous system, use it as a time to meditate. So strongly recommend a sauna blanket. I have that link below too, or I'll have that link for you guys so that you can use that to see what I got. The one that I got, they're a little bit more expensive, but I would say they're worth it. So is Anito. I'm gonna be honest, Anito's a little bit more expensive, but it was definitely really helpful for me understanding my body and where I'm at and being able to take back control. The 5th thing that I did is I started researching vitamins that I could be taking. So the best vitamins were that fish oil, so the healthy fats. Vitamin B6 is really, really good for boosting mood and supporting that progesterone. So like I said, my estrogen was out of control, which was suppressing my progesterone. And so B6 can help kind of like give a little bit more support to my progesterone. The DIM, my cousin, actually, I had read it. ChatGPT had already told me about DIM, but then my cousin had posted something about DIM vitamin, and I was like, okay, I gotta get this. I cannot tell you the difference in I can't tell you. I'm going to tell you. But the difference in my hormone chart when I started taking DIM was insane. So it definitely helped reduce the excess estrogen and really it helps metabolize it. So those 3 were really big game changers. I'll give you a list of the vitamins that I'm taking or links to those as well. But supplements don't replace the work, right? Like, so I still need to make sure I'm eating healthy. I still need to make sure that I am drinking my water. I still need to make sure that I'm paying attention to where my hormones are at, where I'm at in my cycle. And I wish I would have learned these things earlier. Like, this is something that I wish I would have implemented into my life earlier and been a lot more attentive to my hormones and cycle, because I think back and about like the PMS symptoms I used to have before I even realized that they were PMS symptoms, or before I like can acknowledge, but I had PMS symptoms of like the extreme moodiness, the really bad cramping, and we really shouldn't have PMS like that. Like, if we pay attention to our body and we serve it during these times, we can offset a lot of these uncomfortable symptoms. And so since I've started the DIM, since I started the nutrition changes, since I've started drinking more water, My cramps are almost non-existent. I still have a little bit of bloating, a little bit of irritability, but not nearly like I did before, where I was like crying and couldn't get out of bed and was like horrible stomach aches because I was so bloated. Um, Tiredness, I can't say that during that time of the month I'm much as tired as uh, um, like if it's any different than the other times of the month. Obviously, if when we're tracking our cycle and you start to understand your cycle, you'll know that near the first half of your cycle and through ovulation is when you're the happiest, you have the most energy, that's when you're most focused, your body's like, all right, let's go, we're getting ready for this. But there's not a huge difference for the second half of my cycle like there used to be. And I remember feeling like I was bipolar. I remember like in my 20s, and I was on a birth control, but like I said, it might have helped not get pregnant and it might have given me those synthetic hormones, but it wasn't fixing the problem. It was just giving me the result of not getting pregnant and masking the problem because it's like, oh, nope, hormones are fine because we're giving you synthetic hormones. But I was still having these same cycles, these same like crashes, these same mood swings. And really, when I started paying more attention to it, um, a lot of that's gone away. Like so much of that has gone away. I've been able to just be more aware and being like, okay, so I know I'm entering the luteal phase, and I know in the luteal phase, I'm more likely to be irritable. I'm more likely to be bloated. Okay, I really need to make sure I'm not skipping meals. I need to make sure I'm nourishing my body, and giving it the support that it needs so it can help detox the estrogen so we don't go out of whack and then have a crash. And being able to really focus on understanding my body and giving it the support that it needs, it has been a complete game changer. Sauna blanket has helped. I would mix four, like number four being sauna blanket, also with just trying to get better sleep. Sauna blanket helps with that. But if you're able to take a little bit of time just to like relax, refresh, meditate, or something so that you can get yourself the proper amount of sleep, avoid the afternoon caffeine, avoid the afternoon nap. Like, don't let yourself go high, don't let yourself go low, don't let yourself go low, and then try to counter it with going high with these monsters or energy drinks. I'm not saying I do this perfectly, I'm just saying this is what I'm trying to do. But really giving myself enough sleep and trying to have consistency with that. I would mix the importance with that with the sauna blanket. So if you don't want to do the sauna blanket, I would substitute number four with sleep patterns, meditating, having that calming time, to relax and give yourself that wind down so that you can get really, really good sleep. That's going to help with your nervous system. That's going to help with your cortisol levels. Ultimately, that's going to help with your estrogen and progesterone balancing as well. So after months of feeling off and going to the doctor several times and then prescribing me pills to solve my problem, I decided to do these 5 things. So number 1, again, was that education. I was like, what's really going on? What's really happening? My labs look fine. Everything's pretty healthy. Why am cortisol was high? Why? Because I was tired and bloated and irritable and foggy and I couldn't figure out what was going on. So of course my cortisol was through the roof. On top of the hormonal issues, I'm now frustrated mentally. So how do we fix that? Education. You have to be willing to advocate for yourself. You have to be willing to put in the work. If you want different, you have to be willing to figure out how to find different. You can't just sit back and be like, this is what they told me. This is what it is. Like, no, if you feel like something is off, then you are responsible to do something about that. You are responsible for your own life, for your own happiness, for your own health. So do not sit back and just take it. Like we're done doing that. So number 1, educate yourself. A great way for me to educate myself again was that Anito app. I will link that for you. Anito app. It was a great resource. Number 2, is I really had to start paying attention to, once I learned, right? I educated myself. I understood a female's cycle. I understood what happens to a female cycle in their late 30s, where it starts to maybe skip some cycles, which is what my body was doing. I was not ovulating every month. So my estrogen would go really, really high trying to ovulate. Then it would stay high because it didn't have that release and say that its job was done. It just keeps pumping, like, let's go, like, party, 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 party. I don't know. So estrogen's like, let's go. We're trying to get this egg to release. The egg's like, I'm too old. I'm tired. And so my estrogen started to become higher after a couple months of skipping cycles. Now when I skip a cycle, if I notice it, I just can kind of like double down on making sure I'm taking the vitamins to help detox that estrogen. I can make sure that I'm eating the proper food that's going to keep things at a more level stage. So one, we got to educate ourselves. Two, once you understand what's going on, once you start looking at your numbers, once you start saying, these are my symptoms, what do I need to do to fix it? What could be going on? This is my age. This is how I'm feeling. This is the stress levels that I have. How can we fix this? Let's start looking at our food. So for me, food was where my first go-to. I did start working out more consistently, but I've always worked out to some capacity. But my food really had gotten bad, especially when you're frustrated, right? Like, I'm tired, I'm bloated, I'm irritable. I do not want to go make a egg, white chicken, sausage, spinach casserole. I want nachos in my bed and I want to wallow in self-pity. So you got to overcome that little mindset, because definitely when I started this, I didn't have the energy to want to do it. I was pissed. I was mad. I was frustrated. I didn't want to do it, right? Like, I was like, this is dumb. I don't want to make a healthy food or healthy meal. I want to go sit and wallow. And so having the faith, I think, is also really important. I think having the faith that, like, okay, if I do the next right thing, eventually I will be able to come out of this. Again, having the education, having the understanding of what was going on made this easier, versus like when the doctor's like, have you tried eating healthier and exercising? And you want to just be like, I'm going to punch you in the face, right? Like, is eating healthier and exercise usually the answer? Yeah. Let's not be ignorant here. 9 out of 10 times, whatever's going on in our life, if we eat healthier and if we exercise, will it probably solve the problem? Probably. Like, it's really good for our mental health, really good for our bodies. But I like really want to understand why it was off and why those things were going to help. So having the education was really, really helpful. Having the Anito app so I could track my hormones was really, really helpful. And then I felt like I was making a plan and I could actually track those on the Anito app and see the results. I could feel the results, versus just like, hey, try eating healthier. Well, what does that look like? What does that mean? Well, I knew exactly what that meant. I knew I was trying to reduce my estrogen. So being able to research, how do I reduce my estrogen with food? So eating, so that really, really helped kind of overcome that mindset of like, I just want to wallow. I just want to be bloated. I just want to be mad. I'm too tired. So eating healthy. Number 3, again, drinking enough water. It is so important for our mental health. It helps with our cortisol. It helps with our detox. It helps with like naturally flushing our body from any toxins and any excess estrogen that is kind of building up in our liver. And it's just kind of a good reset, good for your skin, benefits all around. It's going to be always an answer too, but I also know adding lemon to it was really, really helpful for that estrogen detox. Sauna blanket or enough sleep. So if you want to get the sauna blanket, like I said, I will go ahead and give you guys access, or give you a link to that the one that I'm using. But if not, just really trying to learn how to calm yourself, relax yourself, taking a hot shower and breathing, taking a cold shower and breathing, giving yourself time to meditate, giving yourself time to be quiet can help with that cortisol, because cortisol doesn't help anything when it comes to hormones. So sauna blanket or really focusing on trying to implement better sleep patterns and then those vitamins. So the three main vitamins that were really helpful for me was the DIM that helps metabolize estrogen, the fish oils, which helps support hormones and reduces that inflammation, and the vitamin B6 vitamin. So B6 is really good for supporting progesterone. So again, my estrogen was up here, my progesterone was way down here. So being able to reduce the estrogen, but also kind of support the progesterone, kind of bring them back in that correct proportion has really helped. So in conclusion, I spent almost over a year, just frustrated, overwhelmed, tired, bloated, giving up. And I finally decided that I was not going to just succumb to the changes of my life. I was going to adapt. So I strongly encourage you to adapt. I strongly encourage you to take back control. I strongly encourage you to do the education, do the research, do the whatever you need to figure out what's going on with your body, and then make the adjustments as necessary, because you don't have to live tired. You don't have to live bloated. You don't have to live irritated. You don't have to live in this brain fog. We can't live maybe the way we did in our 20s, but that doesn't mean we can't live. That just means we need to make the adjustments so that we can have a happy, successful life. So I encourage you to take back control and use the resources I've provided here today. And I wish you the best of luck. We'll see you next week, next episode, and have a fabulous day.